This allegation of groomer and pedophile, it is alleging that a person is criminal somehow and engaged in criminal acts merely because of their identity, their sexual orientation, their gender identity.
Hello and welcome back to What I Think I Know with your host, Dan Brigantino. And again, this week, I think I know that lady's a lunatic. Same lady, Katie Porter, head of the Democrat charge for governor, head of the Democrat race there. Wow. Yeah. Grooming is definitely criminal, and so is pedophilia, as it should be forever and ever, amen. We have talked about some of the disgusting stuff that goes on with the LGBT, stuff. Their flag, it's got the light, I think it's where it's like the triangle part. The light pink and the light blue stand for adults who are attracted to minor girls for the pink and boys for the blue. Absolutely disgusting. It actually does exist. They call them MAPs, minor attracted people. So keep your eye out for that and run for the hills if you see them. Unfortunately, especially in California, I'm sure there's zero that anybody can do about them except try to do their best to keep their kids away. I'll be praying for y'all. Up next, we have something that might I might have to change the name of the show to The Numbers Are Always Lying or something like that. I'm not a good show name creator, as you can see. What I think I know, I think I know that that's a pretty bad show name, but we're rolling with it anyway. Anyway, welcome to The Numbers Always Lie. We're always told that carrying guns is not very helpful for citizens to carry guns. It's not very helpful because it rarely ever does any good. The FBI said out of 374 violent crimes, I think it was like 23 of them. I can't believe I didn't write down that number, but it was incredibly low. There was like 23 of them that were stopped by civilians with guns. And then turns out the CRPC found that not only was the FBI's total number of 374 almost 200 points wrong, it's actually 561, but they found instead of like that measly like 20 or 30 civilians stopping armed people, it was actually 202 out of 561. If I'm not mistaken, that's right about a third there. That's incredible. Almost a third of all crime in the country is stopped by citizens with guns. That's a really, really cool, fun fact right there, I'd say. I'd say that might be the fun fact of the day. 202, or basically about a third of all violent crime is stopped by citizens with guns. Good job, citizens. We did it. Now, the FBI, they said they were either misclassified or missed entirely. The CRPC says the FBI blatantly ignored at least 42 of the occasions and then misclassified 145 of them. So that gets us to that. I think it's about 187. What is that? 42 plus 45, 87. Yeah. So they ignored almost 200 of them. And then they also said if no shots were fired, then it wasn't really the citizen that saved anybody or whatever, or prevented the crime, because he didn't have to shoot his gun. So no problem, no worries. Good for you, citizen. Now go away and die in silence. The FBI was told about these discrepancies, and they said, "Oh, sorry, we'll get around to fixing that." That's what causes all of the fake news. We have a incorrect study given to news organizations and they just blow it up. That's what everybody thinks goes on for the rest of life. It's ridiculous. It very much needs to be stopped because clearly a third of violent crime is stopped by armed citizens, which means if we were to expand the group of armed citizens, we would have even more crime stopped by citizens. It'd be a beautiful thing. And the whole number system is ridiculous. In California, one of the reasons that we have been held to 10-round maximum capacity is that the studies say that I think it's only 2.5 rounds are fired in every self-defense situation. So if you find yourself drawing your firearm, odds are you're only going to need 2.5 rounds, give or take, 1 to 3 kind of thing. Well, it turns out they have those numbers because in like 80% of cases, people only have to draw the gun. Having the gun was enough to scare off the criminal. So they use those numbers as no shots fired, and that brings down the shootings where 50 shots are fired. I think I've said this before, but if police have 18, 19, 25, 27 rounds in their handgun, I think the citizenry should have just the same because unlike police officers, they have time to go train. In fact, they're paid to go train. If I go to the range, I think it's $15 for a half an hour at a booth. And then you have, of course, drive time to get to a shooting range. They're not everywhere. I wish they were, but they're kind of few and far between. So for me personally, it's at minimum like a 40-minute drive. And then we have ammunition, which especially in this state is not cheap. Simple 9mm is at least 25 cents a round. So every time you pull the trigger, you're just flicking a quarter out the window as you're driving down the highway. It's really, really expensive. One single trip to the range, typically I try to keep my shooting down. Now there's some strategy behind that to kind of not shoot that many rounds and be proficient. Essentially, once you get a good 5-10 rounds into shooting, you're kind of beyond your training ability. Now you're starting to kind of, I don't want to say get weak, but you're starting to lose focus. Potentially your hands are getting sore a little bit, maybe sweaty, something like that. I don't know. There's all kinds of things that go into it where once you get a little bit further into your shooting, you're kind of not training so much. And I'm sorry if I didn't explain that well. If you think you could just go to the range, shoot 3 rounds every once in a while and be very proficient, you're very, very wrong. Please go shoot as much as you can. When I was growing up, I used to shoot IDPA with my dad, and that's the John Wick, running through the thing, shooting through all the holes, hitting the steel plates and all that. It's a lot of fun, and back then it was affordable. We would shoot at least 1,000 rounds in a day. There were, we'd have stages, and each stage would be whatever, you have to shoot 20 rounds kind of thing. You got 20 targets and you've got, 20 stages, whatever the math is there. I wasn't really doing math. But anyway, we'd have to shoot 1,000 rounds. It's incredibly expensive. And that kind of emphasizes the point where us citizens cannot ever be as proficient with a firearm. You cannot ever be, loosely. We really can't be as proficient because we're not paid to train. We have to pay for training. We have to pay just to train ourselves, going down to the range on our own. We have to, pay for the ammunition. All this stuff gets covered for the police officers. So if anybody's going to be limited on ammunition, it really kind of should be them. I'm certainly not suggesting that. I would suggest loading them for bear. That would be my actual suggestion for the police. Load up, lock and load heavy. And I think that should be the same thing we look at citizens as. I always go back to the Always Sunny in Philadelphia. I can't remember the character's name, but the twins. D is the girl, and then whatever, the crazy guy, the guy who always gets super angry. They go to a gun store. The salesman does a background check, says, sorry, I can't sell the gun to you. You don't pass the background check. So they go to a gun show, and they say, oh, I'll take that AR-15 there, that mass murdering weapon, whatever. And the guy's like, sure, here's the price. And it's double what the gun store was selling it for. And they go, that's ridiculous. Well, what if I just take the gun and, whatever? What if I just take it? And he points the rifle at the salesman. And right as he does that, the 30 people that are in the gun show as well around them, they all turn in, and they're all locked and loaded, pointing at him. And he goes, okay, I see how guns made this place a whole lot safer. It seems so simple, but people don't have the time to think about it, I guess. I don't know. If there's police everywhere, who's going to do crime? If every citizen is sort of a police officer, not to the point where we'd have the immunity that police officers have. I don't think that should ever really be shared. But like there, I can't remember where it is, but there's a dude. Shoot, I should have looked this up. I'm going to do that really quick. Guy from Arkansas, I believe he was already a convicted hard R, and he was grooming this man's daughter. I think he had already caught the man messing with his daughter in the past. Underage daughter, of course. So this man from Arkansas, his name is Aaron Spencer, an absolute hero of this country, a beautiful man. He noticed his daughter was missing from the house. So he hops in his car and starts looking around the neighborhood, finds the guy, ends up running the guy off the road and ending his life. Now that, I think, is a great way to use a firearm. We have a known pedophile, a known really, really bad guy who cannot be fixed. We know this. This is factual information. You cannot fix a pedophile. This has been proven time and time again. It's not doable. So when this pedophile inevitably, because it is almost a guarantee that he will offend again. So when he does go and offend again, this beautiful hero of the country, the country is America. His name is Aaron Spencer, not America Spencer, but that'd be pretty cool. His name is Aaron Spencer. He's a hero. He took care of that person so that the taxpayers don't have to anymore. I think that's a beautiful thing. I don't really remember why I was actually talking about that. Sorry, I had to cut the film because I forgot what I was talking about. But anyway, this beautiful Arkansas man saves his daughter, saves the American taxpayer from having to pay for just another piece of garbage rotting in a cell. It's a beautiful thing, and yet he's still being criminally charged. So there are circumstances where anybody off the street can look at and go, yeah, that's a clear case of good job, bud. It's ridiculous that we use this system to let out these certain type of people time and time again, so they could just go back on the street and murder people like Irina Zorowski. Gosh darn it, I should know her name by now. I'm sorry for butchering that. But that young girl on the train. Instead, they focus all their time on heroes like him. I don't understand why. But I do have another hero that I want you guys to hear from. Awesome guy. And his name is Sheriff Chad Bianco. He is, I think he's like second in line. There's an Englishman, and then there's Chad Bianco on the Republican side of the race for California governor. Chad Bianco's awesome, though, and I really want you guys to hear this very important thing that he has to say.
Hello, California. It's Riverside County Sheriff Chad Bianco. Today I am in Yuba City, California, and we are going to talk about water. I will make this clear from the very beginning. California has not ever had a water problem in this state. What we have is a water management problem. At the heart of that problem is a failed governor, a failed agenda, and a failed legislature who refuses to take care of our farming community, our ag community, and the residents of California.
Is not, has not, was not, will not be. We will never run out of water. We're one of the most water plentiful places on the planet. We're so wet. In fact, like a third of our state used to be like the world's biggest lake. Almost should have been a sea, or was a sea perhaps. Well, I'm sure it was a sea at one point. But anyway, it's ridiculous to think that California could ever run out of water on accident. Now, if we just left the state to be, we would still have that. If we left the state to be. If we left it be, or we let it be, back in, I think this was like 1850s, they started dredging the big lake. I can't remember what it's called. But anyway, it was a giant lake. Like if you look at a map and you look kind of like Fresno, whatever the valley, you're like, oh, that looks like a giant dried up lake bed. Yeah, you're right. But we started pulling water from that lake to feed the farms, and eventually it went dry. And we were rerouting water other places, and so it never filled up. Then we started building, and we're like, great. Now every time it rains, everybody floods, and we go, oh, the world's ending, oh no. And then when it rains light, we go, good, we needed that water, oh good. It makes no sense. I've been studying the weather since third grade, possibly before that, but that's the first record I have of it. But anyway, great to hear Chad Bianco. I don't know what the future holds in terms of a governor in California. I don't know enough about Chad Bianco or the English guy. I will say the English guy is probably going to get more of the Republican California vote because there's more kind of, I'm definitely not voting Democrat, but I don't want like a sheriff in charge. That's a little bit much. But the English guy, my fear is that, and I might have said this like a couple weeks ago or something, but in England, the Republicans are softer than a lot of our liberals are here. And that just worries me right off the bat, of course. Like, I don't want kind of like an Arnold Schwarzenegger situation where he was a great Republican governor. I loved a lot of what he did, but he dove into and caused all of this environmental carnage that we've been living through. And I don't mean the damage you're thinking about. I mean the damage to like our pocketbooks and whatnot, because there is no environmental worry out there. California produces, I can't remember the number, but it's way less than 1% of the world's population. Or maybe that was the entirety of America creates less than 1%. So it's just ridiculous to think that anything we can do would actually help. Especially because we've been over this before, I know. Plants eat carbon dioxide. If we have more carbon dioxide, we have more plants, which means more oxygen, which means better livelihoods for us. If we take out carbon dioxide, that means less plant food, less plants, more desert. So why would we want to get rid of carbon dioxide? Why is that the one they're fighting so hard for? That has always confused me. There are a couple nasty things that come out of the rear end of cars, but nobody ever talks about that. We're only worried about the carbon, which is the best thing the environment could ever do. If we could just make a carbon factory, we could all live in a tropical jungle. Not tropical, actually. That's a temperature thing. But anyway, we could all live in a forest kind of thing. The Earth is 80% greener than it was in, I can't remember this number either, 1950, I want to say, or maybe it was even before that. 1850, I think it was actually. Anyway, that's some fun right there. Just a couple more bits and pieces because the football is starting, and, well, frankly, I'm ready to go watch it. Oh, yes, just before we dive into our last point and actually kind of have a little bit of like fun, see a good thing, I do want to break your heart one more time with a little bit of Nancy Pelosi. I've actually been kind of like arguing with people on the internet. I love doing it. It's super fun. What Trump said, he was reducing pharmaceutical drug prices by 645%, but actually what he was doing was getting rid of a 645% markup. So all the liberals went crazy. Doesn't he know that would make it in the negatives? And I kind of tried to explain this on a post, and it's been really fun. The way the liberals fight is ridiculous. They'll literally they'll ignore everything you say, and they'll just pick one word, not even like the whole phrase. So you could say, gummy bears are great. And they'll just pick out gummy bears, and they'll be like, what? You hate gummy bears? Or you must be racist because gummy bears are blue. Like, just ridiculousness. But anyway, so I was trying to explain to these people, like, yes, he may have misspoken there. It may have been because 645% discount seems more provocative, more like, ooh, wow, that's cool. That's a good thing. Than saying we got rid of 645% markup, 54% markup. But regardless of anything, the liberals are hopping on that and like, look, he's mentally deficient, he's got whatever, Alzheimer's and dementia and all that stuff. And I'm like, you guys have your head in the sand. Wake up, look around you. Watch Nancy Pelosi. This was just a couple days ago, okay?
We have seen in these trying times, and that is House Speaker Emerita Nancy Pelosi.
Tell that to the Supreme Court. Tell them to the Supreme Court, Supreme Court that decided Citizens United to undermine our democracy. To the distinguished chair, excuse me, okay? Excuse me. And here we are, and I'm honored to join, of course, our champion for all of this, Adam Schiff, as a member of the House staff of Mr.
It's not like Biden was 6 months ago, 9 months ago now, whenever the last debate was. I mean, that was sad. If you watch that debate and you don't understand his mental faculties were garbage and totally trashed by the time he got into office, I don't think there's much hope for you ever. I mean, I would love to try to teach you. You're definitely not going to like how I do that. I'd be a great therapist, by the way. Everybody would be cured from my therapy sessions because they would be extremely brutal instead of nowadays going, oh, I empathize with your feelings. Yeah, that must be very hard for you. No, that's not how it works. It goes like this. You think that was okay to do? You think that was the response you should have had? Oh boy. Oh no. Let me tell you what. You are a fool. And carry on like that. It should be aggressive. It should be you're dumb, you're wrong, you're an idiot, you're a fool. Maybe with different words there because, they're not necessarily dumb or whatever. But foolish, perhaps, yes, absolutely. That's a good word for it. Anyway, that just about does it for the show. I want to do one little new segment, and it is going to be called The Hero of the Week. This week's hero, the inaugural hero, is a fella named Matt Walsh. Before this week, I had seen him in clips and stuff like that. He's part of the Daily Wire team. I definitely am going to watch more of his videos from now on. And so what happened was a couple weeks ago, or maybe just last week, there was a criminal fella who, well, this happened like 8 years ago, 6 years ago. He broke into a house, stabbed a young child. I think he was 11, maybe 13. Stabbed a young boy to death. When the young boy's younger sister tried to help her brother, she ended up getting stabbed and thrown across the room. Their dad came in. He was stabbed and beaten. I think he at least had a concussion. And I think there was a third child in there that was also hurt. The mother was out of town, fortunately, unfortunately. I know as a mother, I'm sure she would have wished to be there to try to help protect. But anyway, so this man admitted to his crimes to the police, admitted knowing that he was doing it and knowing that it was wrong, which is, so with the insanity defense, if you know it's wrong, if you know what you're doing at the time when you're doing it, then you cannot be found insane. Unfortunately, somehow he was found insane, but only for the murder. So he was not charged for the murder because he was criminally insane, but he was charged with assaulting the 3 other family members. He spent 6 years in prison or something, and then was just let go. He brutally attacked this kid so much so vigorously to the point where the knife ended up bent just from stabbing this poor kid. Obviously, the kid did not make it, unfortunately. And then, very much unfortunately again, just recently, this man was let free. He used his freedom there to move. He left town. He moved to a new town, got a house. I don't know if he was renting or whatever. But he was living in a house that was... It's basically the back fence was the fence to the school, the local elementary school. So anyway, backing up a little bit, right when he was released, Matt Walsh went off on Twitter and on his show and stuff, saying like, this is ridiculous. This is the craziest thing. I'm sorry, this guy murders a pedophile and still has to go to court. That's too much, I think. This guy murders a baby and he just gets set free. No problem. Yeah, you'll be fine. You're probably not screwed up in the head at all from that or from what caused you to do that. So anyway, Matt Walsh takes to Twitter. He got the White House ended up involved. I don't know what department it was or whatever, but the police, the state police from Florida, where this, it was Kentucky. I want to say it all happened in Kentucky, and then when he was set free, he went to Florida. So the Florida police heard about it, and they put up a 24/7 security watch on this guy almost immediately, which is like the coolest thing we've seen from law enforcement personnel in this country in a long time. Actually going after criminals. It's awesome. Basically, the terms of parole, you can't step 1 inch out of line or you just go back to jail. So fortunately, I don't know what he did, but he stepped out of line and he's back in jail. Hopefully going to serve out at least the rest of his term. Hopefully he does something in prison that causes his term to be extended, or hopefully one of the other inmates, a lifer perhaps, makes his sentence much, much shorter, if you catch my drift. I don't condone violence. I don't wish violence on anybody except for people who hurt children. I'd extend that to women as well. Hurt a child, hurt a woman, you don't deserve anything so much as a next breath. I'm obviously heartbroken for the family who has to go through not only losing a child, having themselves their own bodily injuries. Now, these other 2 children have all this scarring to work through mentally and physically. The mother, I'm sure, couldn't be more devastated, not even being there with her babies at the time. So all of that is hard enough. And then to have to live through a moment where that man is set free, free to perhaps come after you again, or come after people you know and love, or shoot anybody for that matter. Letting somebody like that go is the stupidest thing that's ever happened in my. Well, I can't say that. I guess that's a pretty bold thing to say, but it is on par. I will say it's on par with the stupidest things I've seen in this country. It's on par with 14 felonies. No worries, we'll give you another chance. Go try again out there in the real world. Disgusting. Thank you very much, Matt Walsh. Thank you, the White House. I don't know if it was like the president or just the staff and crew. Thank you, Florida police, whoever was involved in that, and anybody I don't know was involved, maybe sharing Matt's X post. Just anybody who was involved in that whole situation. Thank you so much. This is a beautiful thing to have that man back in prison. Fills my heart with pride. Speaking of pride, I don't know if you noticed it, but I've got a wall piece that matches my headband now. Anyway, thank you, Matt Walsh. Thank you, anybody who had a part in this happenstance. Big hero of the week goes. I should get an award. Well, that's not a bad award. The Hero of the Week award goes to Matt Walsh. Thank you, and good night, everybody. It's not nighttime, but God bless you all, and we'll see y'all around next week. Oh, one more thing. I'm really pissed at myself right now. I just noticed that last week's episode never got posted. And you don't know that the week before that was posted late because I did something like I closed my laptop too early or something. And then I explained all that in the last episode, and then I did the same thing with the last episode, and so that one's gone, and, well, it's not gone, but I just realized today, and it's Thursday, so I guess I'll post that one, I don't know, maybe Monday or something. We'll see, but anyway, thanks for watching. Comment, subscribe, like, do whatever, but please comment. First thing that comes to your mind, any subject, any, thing you enjoy doing, activity, whatever. Post your job. Post your job title down below. We'll talk about your job title kind of thing. Anything you could think of. Get me off politics. Unless you enjoy the politics, and then comment your the piece of politic that you're most interested in right now. We can talk about that. Anyway, thank you all for listening and watching, and God bless you all. Have a good day. We'll see you next week.